Mr. President, later this afternoon, the Senate will vote on whether to discharge the nomination of Vanita Gupta, the nominee for Associate Attorney General, from the Judiciary Committee. Ms. Gupta is a polarizing figure, as reflected by the vote in the Judiciary Committee. It was tie vote, 11 votes to 11. So she failed to receive majority support from the committee, and so now the Senate must vote on whether or not her nomination can come to the Senate floor for consideration. I want to be clear, the passionate opposition to this nominee is not about politics. I've voted to confirm the vast majority of President Biden's nominees, my attitude being that he won the election, he's entitled to populate the cabinet and other important positions with people he has confidence in. But there are limits. The president's nominee for the top two positions at the Department of Justice did not require this extraordinary step. I voted to support Ms. Monaco's nomination, who's been nominated for Deputy Attorney General, as well as the Attorney General himself, Judge Merrick Garland. As I said, those were not controversial nominees. This nominee is a polarizing, partisan activist and should not be confirmed to this important position. The lack of support for Ms. Gupta is not a reflection on her political affiliation, nor of her gender, nor of her race. As the chairman of the Judiciary Committee intimated, the opposition to Ms. Gupta is a direct result of her history of inflammatory public statements, radical policy positions, and a laundry list of misleading statements and flat-out lies during her sworn testimony before the Judiciary Committee. The position of Associate Attorney General is not some bureaucratic paper pusher. This is the third-ranking position at the Department of Justice, the highest law enforcement agency in America. The American people deserve to know that the individuals leading the department have no agenda other than to fairly and impartially administer justice. But based on everything we now know about Ms. Gupta, I do not have faith in her ability to deliver on this most basic principle. Ms. Gupta is not a career public servant. She is a partisan culture warrior with a radical agenda. During her tenure in jobs outside of government, during which she was a registered lobbyist, Ms. Gupta was quite outspoken about her views on just about every topic you can imagine. She slandered Supreme Court nominees. She vilified organizations that she disagreed with. She even took a crack or two at a number of our Senate colleagues. But the words I find most troubling are those that relate directly to the policies of the Department of Justice itself. As the Judiciary Committee evaluated Ms. Gupta's qualifications, she was asked about her previous writings and her public statements on a variety of topics. There's a lot to sort through. First, following the tragic killing of George Floyd last summer, people across the country engaged in an important discussion and debate about the use of force by police officers and responsible policing strategies. The Judiciary Committee held a hearing on this very topic, and Ms. Gupta was one of the star witnesses. At the time, she was the president and CEO of the Leadership Conference on Civil and Human Rights. She testified before the committee there under oath that it is critical for state and local leaders to heed calls to decrease police budgets and the scope and role and responsibility of police in our lives. Well, for obvious reasons, the phrase decrease police budgets and defund the police lead to the same conclusion, that she believes police departments need less, not more, resources in order to maintain public safety. When Ms. Gupta was asked about this in her confirmation hearing, she did not mince words. She said she does not support defunding the police. So I followed up with a written question for the record. I asked Ms. Gupta, following the hearing, to explain the distinction between decrease police budgets and defund the police so we could understand her views. After all, the Associate Attorney General will play an important role in making grants to the funding of state and local police departments. But Ms. Gupta offered no explanation. She simply said, once again, she does not support defunding the police. Now, Mr. President, I can understand when people change their minds. I think reasonably intelligent people acquiring new information, maybe reflecting on their previous point of view, people change their minds. But Ms. Gupta did not offer a single bit of information for this shift between her statement last summer saying that state and local leaders must heed calls to decrease police budgets and her current position, which is she does not support defunding the police. Then there were her statements on qualified immunity. This is an important issue for Congress to discuss and debate because it is qualified immunity that protects law enforcement officers given the nature of their discretionary decisions they need to make in emergency circumstances. Again, there are people on both sides of that argument. But in June 2020, less than a year ago, Ms. Gupta argued in a Washington Post opinion piece that it's time to revisit qualified immunity. Well, you can imagine I asked her about that at the hearing. And again, she said unequivocally she does not support eliminating qualified immunity. But once again, we received no explanation for her change of position. And while her statements are intentionally, I believe, unclear at best, her words about previously held beliefs on drug policy represent an irreconcilable conflict. Back in 2012, Ms. Gupta authored an opinion piece on November the 4th, 2012, in the HuffPost. In that article, she argued that the states should decriminalize possession of all drugs, not just marijuana, all drugs. Presumably to include prescription opioids, heroin, methamphetamine, fentanyl, you name it. All drugs. Well, I don't have to remind members of this Senate that more than 80,000 Americans have died from drug overdoses this last year alone. And much of it would include the sorts of drugs that back in 2012, Ms. Gupta said should be legalized, or at least decriminalized, to be fair, decriminalized, although the distinction between that may be lost on some. Well, I'm sure that this will surprise no one that this is a controversial view. Congress has spent billions upon billions of dollars to fight the opioid epidemic in this country. We passed the CARES Act to try to get at this epidemic of opioid addiction and abuse. But Ms. Gupta, circa 2012, said that these drugs, all drugs, should be decriminalized for personal use. Well, I followed up with a question because during the hearing, Ms. Gupta talked about how her views had evolved since 2012. And again, as we all have different experiences over time, we learn new information, perhaps reflect on our previously held views. I understand how people's views can change. But then, Mr. President, she wasn't satisfied with that answer. So I followed up with a written question. I asked Ms. Gupta if she ever made this statement that is printed in black and white in the HuffPost, dated circa 2012. She said, quote, "I have never advocated for the decriminalization of all drugs. States should decriminalize simple possession of all drugs. Compare that with I have never advocated for the decriminalization of all drugs. Those are irreconcilable positions. And the fact is, if you believe Ms. Gupta circa 2012, it's simply a lie. It's a lie under oath, potentially perjury. I mean, why do we swear witnesses in if some of them will take the burden of their oath so lightly and they will lie with impunity? I mean, what's the purpose? She didn't just lie to me. She lied to Chairman Durbin. She lied to Senator Whitehouse. She lied to every member of the Judiciary Committee. And unfortunately, she's lying to the Senate. She's been given many opportunities to reconcile these radically conflicting statements. These are diametrically opposed positions. If she had a good answer, if she cared enough, if she respected members of the Senate enough, she would have provided us an answer rather than just an outright lie. Here's a fact check from the Washington Post, that great ultra or uber conservative publication. As you can see, they gave her a unique Pinocchio Award. I have never seen a Pinocchio Award like this. Ordinarily, they would say, well, you get 1, 2, or 3, or 4 Pinocchios based on whether or not we find this to be a misrepresentation of the facts or a lie. But here, they said, for this tango of previously unacknowledged flip-flops, Gupta deserves an upside-down Pinocchio. Upside-down Pinocchio. They went on to say Vanita Gupta's shifting views on defunding police, decriminalizing drugs, deserve this upside-down Pinocchio. March the 10th, 2021. If you publish an op-ed saying the sky is purple, and now you say the sky is blue, don't tell us you never thought the sky was purple. Have a little more respect for your obligation in one of the highest positions in the Department of Justice, not to lie to the Judiciary Committee or the Senate. Have the courage to tell us the truth and stop trying to deceive the Senate in order to be confirmed. As I said earlier, Ms. Gupta was a registered lobbyist and spent a good part of her career pushing a very specific agenda and a range of radical policies to go along with it. In the process, she disparaged individuals, organizations, and political parties who dared to oppose her beliefs. She wrote about the growing number of conservatives on the federal bench and said, Republicans have planted the seeds of this takeover for decades, and now they're leaping into action. I wonder if she realized she might one day be in a position of advocating on Department of Justice before the very same judges that she's disparaged. She tweeted that Justice Kavanaugh lied to the Judiciary Committee and showed himself to be a partisan. And she's going to represent the American people in the highest court in the land, populated by justices she's called a liar? Well, she's called a number of other federal judges. She's described a number of them with similar disdain. Now, I find it hard to believe that these views, which are not from decades-old law school writings or that you can write off to immaturity or perhaps satire like we heard yesterday from Ms. Clark, who's been nominated for the Civil Rights Division. These are recent public statements which this nominee no longer claims to hold. Like I said, if confirmed, she'll supervise litigation in front of the many federal judges she has disparaged, and she'll be in an extraordinarily powerful position to bend the Department of Justice to her political whims. Ms. Gupta is the daughter of a gentleman who heads up a chemical company, produces all sorts of chemicals for a variety of legitimate purposes. And it looks like from her financial disclosure statement, he's been very successful, and so has Ms. Gupta, in family trusts worth tens of millions of dollars, much of it including the stock of Aventor, the company that her father heads. Well, I realize Ms. Gupta is not personally responsible as a shareholder in this company, but it is clear, I believe, from an investigative journalism story by Bloomberg, dated September 2020, that Aventor was selling acetic anhydride, an essential ingredient in converting poppies to heroin, for at least the last decade. She owns tens of millions of dollars worth of that stock. I've asked the Attorney General and the Securities and Exchange Commission to look into Aventor's conduct, because if in fact an American chemical manufacturer has been selling acetic anhydride in the country where they know that it will be available to the criminal cartels and drug runners, and they should know that 92% of the heroin made in Mexico using acetic anhydride manufactured by Aventor and its subsidiary in Mexico, that's a serious, serious problem. So I've asked the Attorney General and the Department of Justice to look into it. Asked about this, asked about Aventor's activities, Ms. Gupta said, "I'm aware of the allegations." Mr. President, I do not have faith, nor should the Senate have faith, nor should the American people have faith that Ms. Gupta will act fairly and impartially if confirmed to this position. If she was willing to lie to the American people during her confirmation hearings before the Judiciary Committee, imagine how she might treat others with disdain, people who hold opposing views in our society, using the great weight and power of the Department of Justice for her, perhaps to further some of her partisan, political, or ideological agenda. Can we really expect someone with this track record, this history, to live up to the highest ideals of the Justice Department? And for example, we all know, lawyers are taught, if you've got exculpatory information about a criminal defendant, you have a duty to disclose that to the other side. If you're the prosecutor, you have a duty to disclose it to the defendant so it can be cross-examined and used in the course of a jury trial. Do we really expect someone who appears willing to lie with such disregard for the truth to disclose exculpatory material that a person sued by the Department of Justice would have a right to, or would she just try to sit on it? Can we really expect her to hire people around her based on merit as opposed to some political litmus test? Can we really expect her to disclose material information to the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court? Or encourage folks under her supervision to be meticulous and forthright with the court when seeking warrants? I don't think so. Given the incredible power of the Department of Justice and all the tools available to it, Ms. Gupta's radical beliefs and agenda that she believes in sincerely, apparently, these would be more than words on a screen. Her views would be terribly dangerous to the American people. But based on her track record, I have no confidence in her ability to act with fairness, candor, or integrity. Mr. President, as a member of the bar, as a lawyer, you have a higher duty than even a regular citizen of candor. The model disciplinary rules that apply to lawyers, members of the bar, like Ms. Gupta, who's a member of the New York bar as well as the Supreme Court bar, they're subject to discipline from grievance committees subject in those jurisdictions. We know that they have real teeth because former President Clinton, as you may recall, lied under oath as a lawyer and was disbarred by the Arkansas Bar Association, and also had to give up his membership in the bar of the Supreme Court of the United States. If the Senate's going to make a habit of allowing witnesses to come in and lie under oath in such a brazen way, why do we even go through this kabuki theater? Why do we require them to take an oath in the first place if you can lie with impunity? What's the point of going to these hearings if the witnesses are not going to be truthful and answer our questions honestly? As I say, I have grave concerns about this nominee's ability to separate her well-documented personal beliefs from her role as a high-ranking official at the Department of Justice. So, Mr. President, it will come as no surprise I will oppose discharging Ms. Gupta's nomination from the committee. I think she should have to come back to the committee, as we've requested of Chairman Durbin, to explain these inconsistencies if she has a good answer. So far, Chairman Durbin has declined to provide her and us that opportunity. But if we want to maintain any sense of legitimacy and respect for the confirmation process, we need to hold people accountable who come here and lie under oath. And for that and many other reasons, I will oppose the motion to discharge this nomination.